Hello, I'm here in Copenhagen at the Geological Museum and I'm here to see the Agpalilik meteorite. Very famous piece. It's a fragment of a larger meteorite, the Cape York meteorite. Let me swing the camera around. So here's the meteorite and it sits on the sleigh in which it was recovered in the 1960s. Now the story is very complicated. The Inuit, they were actually the first people discovering the meteorite, and they have worked the metal. They used basalt stone to hammer off fragments, and they used it to make simple blades and arrow tips. And when the first white people came, they were very surprised that people, the Inuit in the north of Greenland, actually had metal. And it's because they were able to take metal from the meteorite fragments, and they used cold metal working techniques to hammer it and make simple blades and arrow tips from it. So here we have a cut surface because scientists took pieces off, and there we have these roundish fragments here, or these roundish blobs, and this is troilite. The rest of the meteorite is made of chamosite and taenite, and chamosite is the iron-rich variety of the metal mineral, and taenite is the more nickel-rich variety. So here we have another troilite fragment, and here you see the surface. Let me come around, maybe I can see it a little better. So, and the Inuit actually, they traded the metal, and pieces of this material were found all the way to Canada, and there was an active trade, and it allowed certain Inuit groups to become very prosperous by relative terms, of course. So here you can actually see the somewhat polished surface, and of course it's a little rusty on the outside. Here's the troilite. Troilite is iron sulfide. You can just about see the kind of shiny, almost fool's gold type kind of colors here, and this was moved in the 1860s. Here's a beautiful little edged surface. Let me see whether I get this right. And there you see the Wittmann patterns. This is the intergrowth of chamosite and taenite, and hopefully we get this. So somebody must have used a little bit of acid here to kind of show the intergrowth. The thickness of the lamellae is actually very useful because it tells you something about cooling, and the important thing here is that this is a fragment of a former core of a planetesimal. So a planetesimal, a small planet that got destroyed, and here we have insight into the interior of a planetary body, and this is what we assume to be also present inside the Earth. So wonderful specimen here, one of the largest meteorites ever found, 58 tons in total. And here's another edged surface. It's a little bit more, well, it's not quite as clean, but here you can see the faint expression of the Wittmann figures. So the other important thing is that this is largely iron, more than 90%, far more than 90%, but there's also a high proportion of cobalt in there. And this is why people like Elon Musk are interested in space mining, because there is no material on the surface of the planet Earth that has cobalt to this degree. These have between 5, 6, maybe 7% cobalt, and this is of course very, very attractive. Cobalt is currently sourced dominantly from Congo. Over 60% comes from Congo, and this means there is a bit of a monopoly almost, and having access to cobalt-rich material from outer space or from somewhere in the solar system would of course be very, very attractive, and it will allow to produce things like cobalt battery type materials more efficiently. Hence the great industrial interest in space mining at this point. Now of course we're miles away from making this financially viable, but well, who knows, in several decades from now this may look very, very differently. So here the Agpalilik meteorite at the Copenhagen Museum of Natural History, and what a gorgeous specimen it is. So I say thanks a million, all the very best, and I hope you enjoyed that little excursion into, well, other parts of the solar system, at least in a theoretical sense. Thanks a million, all the best.